Welcome back to another episode of Everything But the Lesson Plan, the podcast where we go beyond the classroom and explore the broader aspects of teaching and education that truly make a difference. I am your host, Franchesca Thompson, and today we're diving into a topic that is crucial for the growth and retention of educators: teacher evaluations. Now, we all know that evaluations are often a necessary part of the job, but when done right, they can actually be a tool for growth, feedback, and support. In this episode, we're going to explore real world examples of the districts that have implemented effective teacher evaluation systems, specifically focusing on Houston ISD's Teacher Excellence System. We'll also look at key lessons learned and other innovative examples from across the country. People are doing some really good things. So let's get started. So I kind of want to just back it up and just go through a kind of a little story here. So when we think about evaluations, every day teachers step into their classroom with one mission in mind. They are there to make a difference. But even the most passionate and dedicated educator cannot thrive in isolation. They need support and guidance. And yes, teachers need feedback. Teacher evaluations are often viewed as a daunting and administrative burden. Oh, is this due now? Have we met the deadline? Has the deadline passed? Oh my gosh, get it done, get it done, get it done. But what we really need to understand is that feedback truly is helpful and has the potential to be some of the most powerful tools in an educator's toolbox. When designed correctly, they can be the catalyst for growth and collaboration and real change. But here's the catch: for evaluations to work, y'all, we know what they need to be. They need to be meaningful, straightforward, and ultimately beneficial for every member of the school team. So just think about that. Beneficial to every member of the school team. Okay, capital T. Let's take a step back and imagine a teacher like you in a school where the evaluation process isn't just a checkbox. Instead, it's a tool that you look forward to. You enjoy it because it's not only helping you grow, but it's also supporting your colleagues and students. Picture this: you're in a classroom working hard to create an engaging lesson, like you the bombdiggity.com today. You got your challenges, students, but you know what? You're still doing your thing. Afterward, you meet with your administrator for your mid-year evaluation, but instead of a dry review of your test scores and a vague mention of your classroom management, the conversation is really and truly focused on you, your strengths, your challenges, and your aspirations as an educator. I recently had a conversation with my closest friend. I chose the education route, she chose the corporate route. And we were literally talking about evaluations. And one of the things I admired about her evaluation process in corporate is that it is goal focused. They get together and they figure out, well, what is it that you want to accomplish this year? What is it that you want to go after this year? And then they're making progress towards that every single month. And then that becomes the topic of conversation at the end of their, I guess, their fiscal year. I don't really know when corporate folks do it, but they have this goal that they want to accomplish. And I just think that's really, really good. And that's something that could possibly be useful in teacher evaluations. You're not just giving feedback when it comes to evaluations, you're having a dialogue. Your evaluator listens attentively to your concerns. They offer practical suggestions and provide resources that are tailored to your individual needs. It's like, hey, I want to do this. What support can you provide? And you know what? Perhaps you discuss strategies for engaging students and you want to think more deeply on that. Or maybe you're implementing some type of new technique that aligns with your goal and you want some feedback on that. You feel heard and you feel supported and you feel empowered. I know my evaluator, I've had worked at two different school districts. I've had several evaluators, but I can remember some of the highlights and the highs with the evaluators that I really did appreciate. It would be things like I could share some of the things that I wanted to do and accomplish when I was in the classroom. And a lot of my stuff was just really, really innovative to the point where we didn't even have those tools and resources as software just yet. And I was like presenting these things as if this is what I want the future of this classroom to look like. How can you support me on this? I want to take it learning to this level. And I loved it when I had evaluators that were all in to making sure that I accomplished my goals. This kind of evaluation system does more than just highlight areas of improvement. It nurtures your growth. And I love that. It allows you to reflect, adjust, and experiment in ways that feel achievable and meaningful. And here's the beauty of it: when teachers thrive, the entire school thrives. And that's important. And you can tell the difference. You can tell that through school culture, what the entire school culture looks like and what the teachers are feeling with the support. You can feel that when you enter in a building. And I never forget one of my professors talked to us about that. Soon as you walk through the door, you can feel the school culture. And you walk through the halls, you can feel the school culture. And a lot of that has to do with the support that those teachers get. So, why should teacher evaluations be easy to use and beneficial to the entire school team? You know why? Because in a world where teachers are often asked to wear many hats and juggle countless responsibilities, remember, they are our superheroes. Teacher evaluations can offer a moment of reflection, growth, and connection. So let's take a look at a few options. I was doing my research, just trying to figure out who's doing what. And I just landed on these. I think it's about two or three school systems that I'm going to share. It's not saying that anyone is doing any better job than the other one. This is just the examples that I'm going to use today. So we'll start with Houston ISD, one of the largest districts in the United States. They recently rolled out a new evaluation system called the Teacher Excellence System. Okay, so positive. It was not just developed by closed door administrators. It was actually developed with the input from over 3,000 stakeholders, including teachers, yay, principals, and other educational professionals. So one of the key features of this system is the multi-measure approach to assessing the teacher's effectiveness. So rather than relying on just the one factor, such as, your student test scores or classroom observation, Houston ISD systems incorporate both, they incorporate both those, but alongside with components like student surveys, that helps them provide a more holistic view of a teacher's performance. And so what's great about this system is that it recognizes the complexity of teaching. Like this is a lot of work that you got to do, right? And you've got to figure out different ways to be engaging. So it's not just about how well the students perform on the test. It's about how teachers are engaging with their students, fostering a positive classroom culture, and continuously improving their own practice. So that's important. These systems aim to give a more well-rounded picture of a teacher's impact. And it's clear that this approach is working for both teachers and administrators. Now, one of the not so positive things that I didn't like about this system is that it does use pay for performance. The teachers can start anywhere between 60,000, but with all the pay for performance incentives, it could put them well over 90. And so we know how that goes with the pay for performance. You got to make sure that your evaluator, your administrator has the time dedicated to make all of these things that I just said happen. What if the evaluator is overloaded with work, handling your evaluation, handling discipline, handling Title IX, got events to go to, sports events, concerts after school? Oh, did I say discipline? Okay, and then teacher over here is out, teacher over there is out. We got to make it work, but we've got to figure out how to take in consideration administrators who really have a heavy load. Okay. And then what about getting assigned an administrator who really doesn't care for you, or really doesn't care for your content, or really doesn't understand what you teach, right? This is an evaluator whose base is English. They love language arts and all things language arts. And then all of a sudden they're over career technical education and they don't get it, right? And so those are the things that you got to kind of think about when you're thinking about pay for performance. So now that we have a bit of background on Houston ISD, their teacher excellence system, let's take a moment to reflect on some of the key lessons learned. So one thing, they had stakeholder involvement. I think it was key that they had teachers involved. The system was built to have continuous feedback. Teachers receive regular feedback, not just once or twice during their evaluation, but throughout the year. That's tough because depending on the type of school you're in, right? I can already see where, high need schools, which literally they're trying to survive, a lot of them, they're not going to have that time to invest. So what should be done to fix that? What are some other things that they did? I just like just how involved it is with teachers being able to provide feedback as well, and be honest on what it is they think they need. So, good job, Houston ISD. Now, while Houston ISD system is stand out, they are not the only district doing things differently. Across the country, many districts have started to adopt innovative evaluation systems, and some of them have an emphasis on personalized feedback and professional growth. So another one that I was able to look up was Charlotte-Mecklenburg. It's in North Carolina, and they've moved towards a more formative evaluation, which is where it's ongoing rather than based on a single observation or assessment. These formative evaluations allow teachers to receive real-time feedback that's actionable, and it encourages teachers to reflect on their practice. That reflection piece is key. Sometimes if these things aren't built out and planned out, by the time that teacher receives their reflection, it's the end of the year. So it's like we got to plan with purpose. We've got to be intentional with that so that we can have these conversations. Now, one of my favorites is Los Angeles, their unified school district. Okay. They have, y'all, a peer observation component, and where you get input from your colleagues and recognizing that teachers themselves can offer some of the most insightful feedback. And so this system, teachers don't just get evaluated, they also have a chance to evaluate each other, which fosters collaboration and a culture of continuous improvement. And I just think about that. Some of the corrections that I had to make as a new teacher came from my peers who taught some of this, was in the same category as me. And I think you can learn a lot from watching someone and evaluating that person as well. I think this is outstanding work here for Los Angeles to allow these peers to have a part in the evaluation system. Now, we keeping it real. This is everything but the lesson plan. We got to keep it real. You got to make sure your peer likes you, because if you're talking about me, I'm not one. If I know that you don't like me, I am not here for the feedback. Okay. So you got to make sure it's a good situation and that you pair them up so that it will establish that relationship and the growth that needs to take place between those peers. And I can just see it as more positive than negative, because you're literally taking the time out to learn from someone and also evaluating their process. And hopefully the person is accepting of that evaluation. That's the biggest thing, is that you got to listen to what someone is saying that they think you can improve on, but make sure the delivery is correct. Okay. So these were just examples that show that when teachers' evaluations move beyond the traditional model and prioritize feedback, development, collaboration, they become much more meaningful for for educators. And they are the heart of the school. If you didn't know, now you know. So, as we wrap up today's episode, I think the biggest takeaway is clear. Teacher evaluations don't have to be something to fear, right? In fact, when done correctly, this is a tool for growth. By looking at some of these real world examples like Houston ISD and other districts, we can see the tremendous potential for evaluations to not only assess teachers' performance, but also foster professional development, build trust, and enhance the overall teaching environment. The key is the B word, a balanced approach. Okay, so one that includes ongoing feedback, multiple measures of effectiveness, and most importantly, a commitment to continuous improvement. I think we got this. I just enjoyed looking up and researching these different methods. I've compared it to what, the systems that I've worked in, what they're doing. I've compared it to the conversations of teachers that I've had all across this country and how they're getting it done. And so I think we can learn from each other. And I think this can be a tool that could be a tool for greatness for teachers. But sometimes we got to sit back and look at our approach. Um, we can't change the system right now, right? Some of you guys are like, well, I can't sit up here and change how our evaluation system is. I'm not asking you that, but there is probably a part of the process that you can change when you're evaluating a teacher. Do you take the time out, right? And for teachers, are you really reading the feedback? Do you understand it? Do you ask questions? Would you be open to a peer evaluating you and taking that feedback and learning from others? When I was in classroom, I loved going to other schools to see what they had going on, and I would be able to bring that back to my school. So we got to always be open to stuff like this. So hopefully this was helpful. Thank you for joining me today on everything but the lesson plan. If you found this discussion insightful, I would like for you to subscribe and leave a review, share it with a friend, push that like button. But we'll be back soon with more episodes designed to support you, educators, in and out of the classroom. Until next time, keep pushing the boundaries and shaping the future of education. Keep thriving and take care. And thank you for listening.